Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another third-party unlicensed 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at the Toys Battalion Gold Magus, aka Adam Warlock, based off his appearance in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, I got mine as a review sample from Toys Battalion, organised through 1/6 Kit. I have popped the link to Kit's site for your reference purposes only in the description below. As always, this is a proper review. It is not a promotional video. I have not been asked to only say good things. If you are heading down to the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new 1/6 scale figure review goes live on the channel. As for the box art, I think they were pretty successful here. It screams Guardians of the Galaxy with this galaxy in the background, as well as this image of Adam Warlock down below, without saying Guardians of the Galaxy anywhere on the entire box. I think it's the font for his name up top with this neon sign effect around the edge that really sells it to me. Now, I had to look up what a Magus is, and apparently it's Old Greek for like a mage or a wizard, which I don't think is quite right for Adam Warlock. I think it was some kind of Warlock translation, perhaps. He's not a wizard as far as I can tell, not a warlock in that sense. I think it's just the name they decided to give him. So I reckon something like Gold Adam or Adam War Person or something like that would have been a perfect third-party name. Gold Magus, doesn't really do it for me. Not that it actually affects the figure inside, of course. It's just a random third-party name. We have more of that galaxy in the background and this flame effect down below. And then around the back, warnings and legal information in 2 different languages. And just a really nice sunset scene. I love the purple and orange hues going on here. We also have a silhouetted image of Adam Warlock standing on a ship, just staring out into the distance. What makes it even better though is it wraps around the edges of the box on both sides, so when you take off the lid you can see even more of that sunset scene. First in-hand impressions for Gold Magus? So far so good, especially that head sculpt. They have absolutely improved from the prototype. What we are going to do now though is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first, which is done in the Hot Toys rectangular style. Now, the reason that companies do this is because they want their figures to blend in better with people's Hot Toys collections. But Hot Toys don't really use the rectangles anymore. They've kinda switched to the hexagon style bases. So maybe going forward, Toys Battalion also think about perhaps switching to the hexagons just so everything blends nicely. Up top, we have Adam Warlock around the front. This is also done in a matte textured grippy finish. But for the nameplate, they have decided to leave it blank, which I do prefer over printing something like Gold Magus on the front there. Up top, we do have an adjustable crotch grabber, but also a little screw port just off to the side. Because unlike Hot Toys, they've given us a flight pole as well as a crotch grabber. Hot Toys only give us one or the other, which is crazy to me. If a third-party company can give us both options, Hot Toys sure as shit can as well, so maybe one day Hot Toys will do this too. We get the flight pole plus a spring-loaded waist clamp. There is some foam padding on the inside, but I would still be careful when using this for a long period of time. We do get these 2 energy effect pieces, and I like the idea of them, but I'm not quite sure what they are. Are they supposed to be like a blast, or are they more so a spike or a sword or something? Either way, just weigh in the comments down below. They're cast in this translucent orange plastic, so light does pass through them, and we should be able to see his arm inside the effect piece when we have it on him. And lastly, a full array of hands. They all have a really decent level of skin texture to them. There's some vein work, some wrinkling sculpted in, and even some fingernails. They are painted in shiny metallic gold with some subtle shading here and there. So we get some open palm hands, 2 almost semi-gripping hands. These are asymmetrical, so you get a different gesture from one side to the other. 2 actual gripping hands, but these are also asymmetrical. This one has a different position for the thumb compared to the other. And then 2 closed fists already installed on him. What we are going to do now, though, is get Adam Warlock himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses, or accessories, or anything like that. If you're a Guardians 3 fan and you're a Will Poulter fan and you've been waiting for a perfect 1/6 scale Adam Warlock, this guy is close. He's not 100% flawless, but he does enough stuff right that I think he is worth picking up and adding to your MCU display. Right now, just rotating around in front of us, his proportions look really good. He's big, he's bulky, yet nothing is too long or too short. Everything looks roughly the right size. And then we get to the outfit on top of the body. It's practically gleaming, light is bouncing off the surface, it looks visually interesting, and it's accurate to the movie. Up close and personal, kicking things off with Adam Warlock's head sculpt. When this guy was first announced, a lot of people were not happy with the head sculpt. So much so that they complained, and Toys Battalion issued a statement saying that for the final version, they were going to give us an improved head sculpt. That's a very dangerous promise, especially if you don't deliver. Luckily, they have delivered. I think this is a really solid sculpt, especially from that angle right there. I can 100% see Will Poulter from Guardians 3. There's a ton of skin texture sculpted in, you've got even some wrinkles on his forehead, and it's not just a great sculpt painted gold either. We have some little bits of shading here and there, like his lips, on his nose, on his Adam's apple, and even on this teeny little dangling piece of hair that's made out of a rubbery plastic, so you don't have to worry about it breaking. There is a lot of depth to an otherwise quite gold head sculpt, and he does of course have that gem on his forehead. Now it is a two-piece sculpt with a seam underneath his chin and then the neck plugs in separately to the body, but front on, the skin tone and skin texture match between the head and the neck is nigh on perfect. And I don't think it looks too high or too low on the body either. They have nailed the proportions and the likeness. They've quite clearly put a lot of effort into this cape because they got so many things right on this thing. Number one, it's made of this lightweight fabric and it's super saturated so it drapes well and it pops. Number two, the screen printing is just so freaking clean all the way down. Plus, it's metallic so the light bounces off the surface. And number three, it's wired along the edges and the bottom. So if you do want to get dynamic with it, you absolutely can. Plus, underneath it, there is a lot of detail for the armor. They've also put the washers in the crevices back here, underneath the cape, something that you'd normally not actually even see. You'd be surprised how many third-party companies would skimp on that, just to save a couple of cents off the budget and make sure their figures are as profitable as possible. So I'm glad that Toys Battalion decided to add the washers absolutely everywhere. Now, the armor plating is made up of two different styles of material depending on where it is on him. If it's over a joint, like the shoulders for example, this is made of a slightly softer rubbery material. You can see the belt, it is flexible and it can be moved up and down. Whereas the chest plate, because this is integral to making him look proportionate, it has to hold its shape, it's made of a sturdier plastic. It can still be moved up and down because this spike is quite close to the suit, so you will want to move it for dynamic posing to add a bit of a gap there, but it's not as squishy as some of the other pieces. The paint applications, though, do make it look like they're all made of the same stuff. The red is saturated, nice and metallic, the gold is very shiny and also quite rich, but there are washes over the top that do dull it down a little. And they sink into the crevices, so all of the sculpt work, like this mesh area right here, it just has a lot of depth to it. I know I've already said depth once in this review, but even around the front, depth, because there are crevices in the armor where you can see the undersuit poking through. Speaking of the undersuit, it's made of this very stretchy feeling rubbery material. You've got this grid pattern, the intersecting lines, and you also have details just tucked underneath the armor plating, like on his legs for example, that you'd never normally see except for the holes straight through the armor pieces themselves. And you can make out the musculature underneath the suit. If you're wondering what he looks like with his effect piece on, I'm pretty curious myself. It's quite straightforward to install. You literally slide it on there, give it a bit of a twist, and it'll go all the way on, and it should friction in position. It's optically clear enough that you can see the armor through it, and you can make out his closed fist, which is the one you have to use with this effect piece if you were wondering. Because it does get quite thin towards the spike, it almost looks like there's some shading to it, and if you light it correctly, it comes across as though it's glowing. There's this old costume maker's trick that they use all the time in Hollywood, especially for superhero suits. And in this case, I suppose it's more attributed to Marvel for the costume design for Adam Warlock rather than Toys Battalion, even though they're the ones who had to execute it in 1/6 scale. It's take your darkest color on a character, so for Adam Warlock, the red, and use it predominantly on their lower half. That way they feel more hefty and more planted. That's what they've done here with Adam. As you can see, the upper torso is mostly gold with a little bit of red, where the rest of it is all down here on his legs. There is a lot more of that metallic red down below. You can also see some musculature poking through the undersuit for the thighs, just like the abs section, the suit through the crevices on the armor plating, that hidden detail tucked underneath the thigh armor and around the edges underneath the knee pads. Then down here for the ankles, a split cut boot design for maximum range of motion. If you find that the boot guards are getting in your way, just move them up a little, dial in the pose, then bring them back down. The undersuit does continue over the top of the ankle pegs, so even if you do angle it down really far, you're not going to see ugly, unpainted bare plastic. Underneath the boots, there's some sculpted tread, and some washers to bring out that sculpt work. For a quick side-by-side comparison, unfortunately, at the time of filming this video, we don't have any of the figures from Hot Toys from Guardians 3. So I had to settle with Star-Lord from Guardians 1, who, right now, is still my favourite version of Star-Lord that they've made. When we do get the Guardians 3 figures, then we'll bring back out Adam Warlock and we'll do some proper comparisons. As you can see next to Star-Lord from Volume 1, Adam Warlock is ever so slightly taller. And he looks pretty darn jacked. Being as chonky as he is, that to me looks pretty accurate. I do not get to bring out this figure anywhere near often enough. It's Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 again, like Star-Lord. Yeah, he is significantly shorter than Adam Warlock, which is, totally to be expected. Going over articulation, starting off with Adam's head sculpt. It is on an articulated neck with a ball joint at the bottom and a double ball peg at the base of the head itself. Combined, looking forward to there, looking up to there, just enough for a decent flight pose in my opinion, swivel and pivot side to side. His shoulder pads are attached to the suit, but I don't think they're going to get in the way. His arms will go up to there, going forward and back on soft ratchets, butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down, swivel at the bicep, double bend on ratchets at the elbow going past 90, and then for the wrist peg, it's a hinge and swivel. His torso crunches forward on two separate joints to there, going back to there, swivel, and pivot side to side. His legs go forward to there. Just be careful of the suit though, because it does tuck into the upper part of the joint where the hip meets the top of the leg. Going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh, ratcheted double bend at the knee going past 90, and a split cut boot design with a double ball peg for the ankles. Good for forward and back, swivel, and tons of ankle tilt. Wrapping up on Toys Battalion, Gold Magus, aka Adam Warlock from Guardians 3. I love this figure. He's not perfect, he has some flaws, but for the most part, I can't wait to stop filming him and pop him in the Guardians collection. He's going to add a much needed just boost of color. He's bright gold, he's got the metallic red, he's got the cape, which I love, it's wired in all the places you'd expect it to be, and you get the sick effect pieces. All of that, in my opinion, pales in comparison to the head sculpt. That's the real reason that I'd say you're probably gonna want to pick this guy up, because they promised they'd improve it, and they did. This, to me, is a spitting image of Will Poulter. They nail the likeness. And the detail too. There's skin texture, there's shading where there needs to be, and it just makes the figure. I've said this before, and I have no problem saying it again. The head sculpt is the soul of a figure. So when you nail that, and you nail everything else, it's kind of just a no-brainer, as long as you like Adam Warlock and Guardians 3, of course. Now, I got mine as a review sample. from Toys Battalion, organised by 1/6 Kit. I have popped the link to Kit's site in the description below for your reference purposes only. This is not a promotional video, this is a review. All opinions have been 100% my own. I have not been asked to only say good things. While you're down in the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.